Before I tell you how I sent my mom a wedding photo she never saw in real life because she didn't come, make sure you subscribe to hear stories that hit hard and heal deep. I used to dream of my wedding like most little girls do. The dress, the vows, the flowers. But in every version of that dream, my mother was always there, right by my side, crying happy tears, whispering how proud she was, fixing my veil, holding my hand. But dreams lie, because on the day I got married, the seat I saved for her stayed empty. Not just empty, vacant, like her love had been for years. I remember standing by the mirror in the bridal suite that morning, barely breathing. My hands trembled as I adjusted my earrings. The makeup artist kept telling me I looked beautiful. I smiled, nodded, but inside I was begging for one single text. One. Just one from her. I'm on my way. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry I'm late. But it never came. The room was buzzing with laughter, champagne glasses clinking, my bridesmaids hyping me up. But I couldn't feel it. The ache was louder. I felt hollow, like I was about to walk into the biggest day of my life carrying the weight of someone who chose not to be there. My best friend, Rachel, came over and gave me a soft hug. "It's okay if you cry," she whispered. I didn't cry. Not then. I couldn't afford to smudge the $400 worth of waterproof makeup caked onto my face. I held it all in, telling myself I'd cry later, maybe under the covers that night. Maybe not at all. Then came the knock on the door. 10 minutes. The coordinator called out 10 minutes, 10 minutes until I walked down that aisle alone. I checked my phone one last time. No missed calls, no texts. No excuses. My mom had known the date for 6 months. She helped me pick the venue. She even said she'd walk me halfway down the aisle so it wouldn't feel like I was missing something, but she wasn't coming. And deep down, I think I always knew. As the music started playing and my bridesmaids took their turns walking out, I stood at the double doors, my heart thudding in my chest. My father left us when I was 7, and my mother raised me. Raised is a generous word. She housed me, fed me. But there was a distance between us that no amount of school awards, home-cooked meals, or quiet forgiveness could close. The second she started dating Leon and his son Jason entered the picture, I became a background character in my own life. But we'll get to that. For now. All you need to know is the doors opened and she wasn't there. The first thing I saw was Ethan's face, my soon-to-be husband. His eyes sparkled, and when he smiled, a little tear slid down his cheek. That should have been my moment, a perfect moment. But I couldn't stop scanning the guests. The second row, third, last, still no mom. I held my bouquet tighter. My knees wobbled. And then I walked. Each step felt heavier than the last, like I was dragging 100 broken promises behind me. I kept my chin up, kept my face soft, kept my eyes locked on Ethan. He was the only anchor in that moment. The only person who never made me feel like an afterthought. The ceremony was beautiful. The vows, magical. The applause when we kissed, thunderous. But the part I remember most wasn't the kiss or the cake or the dancing. It was the silence in that one seat. My cousin whispered to me during the reception, "Where's your mom?" I said she had something come up, but I didn't say what. I didn't say she chose Leon's 6-year-old son over me. Again, no. I saved that truth for later when I mailed her the wedding photo she never witnessed. But that part comes. Later that night, I danced with Ethan under a sky full of fairy lights. My friends cheered. My in-laws smiled. The music played until the stars blinked out. But when the last guest left and I slipped off my heels, I sat down and pulled out my phone. Still nothing from her. No apology, no update. No update. No, how was it? Turned the screen off and told myself something I wish I had believed sooner. She didn't forget. She just didn't care enough to come. And that realization hurt far more than her absence ever could. If you've ever felt abandoned by the people who were supposed to love you most, hit subscribe for stories that speak your heart. The morning after the wedding, I woke up beside Ethan in our hotel suite. There was sunlight dancing across the floor, the faint smell of roses still lingering from my bouquet beside the bed. His arm was draped over me, warm and heavy. And for a second, let myself pretend everything was perfect. But grief has a habit of slipping in through cracks. And mine came back as soon as I saw the message on my phone. Finally, a text from my mother. Hope everything went well yesterday. I couldn't leave Jason. Leon had a work emergency. That was it. Not, I'm sorry. Not how did you look. Not, I'm proud of you. Just a justification. A flimsy, lukewarm excuse about a man she met 3 years ago and a child she wasn't even biologically related to. I stared at the message, heart racing, fingers frozen above the keyboard. I could have snapped back. I could have told her she missed the most important moment of my life. But something in me stopped. I just texted, "Thanks for letting me know." And that was the end of it. For now, Ethan kissed my shoulder and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. Lead? Yeah. She had to babysit Jason. He looked at me, long and quiet. Then he kissed my forehead. He didn't push. He never pushed. That's why I married him. But all through breakfast, while we talked about our honeymoon, and through the ride to the airport. And even as the plane took off, that message echoed in my head. She couldn't leave Jason. You know what stung? The most. That Jason was the same kid who once screamed at me for touching his Legos. The same kid who once told me, "You're not my sister, stop pretending." And the same kid my mom defended every time. "She's just overwhelmed, sweetheart. She has a lot on her plate." She means well, no? What she meant was, he came first. The same way Leon came first when he didn't want. To help me with college costs. The same way my mom didn't show up when I got promoted. But took Jason to his science fair. My wedding was just the grand finale to a long list of choices that proved I wasn't the priority anymore. I spent the first few days of our honeymoon trying to enjoy myself. Ethan was wonderful. He planned the whole trip from the private beach villa to the candlelit dinners. But he noticed the way I sometimes stared into the waves. Quiet, thoughtful. On the fourth night, as we walked along the shoreline, he stopped and asked, "Are you mad at her?" I stopped walking too. "I don't know if I'm mad," I said softly. "I think I'm done expecting her to show up." He wrapped his arm around my waist. "That hurts." "Yeah," I nodded. "It really does." We stood in silence, just listening to the ocean. And then I said the words I hadn't said out loud yet. She chose him. She chose Jason. She chose that life. Okay? And now she can live. With that choice, Ethan nodded once. "So, what do you want to do?" I thought about it all night. On the 5th day, I made a decision. I sent a message to our photographer. "Can you send me that one photo? The one of me alone walking down the aisle?" She replied immediately and attached the picture. And then I opened my email, uploaded the photo, and wrote one line beneath it. "This is the moment you missed while babysitting someone else's son." I clicked send. I didn't expect a reply, but I did expect her to feel it. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I needed her to know that it did hurt me. Back home a few days later, I got an envelope in the mail. No name on the front, just my address. Inside, there was a letter, handwritten, from her. "You're right. I missed something I can't ever get back." But I felt like if I didn't stay, Leon would think I didn't care about his family. I didn't realize how much I was losing my own daughter trying to keep a man. I stared at that line for a long time. It continued. "I wish I could tell you I made the right choice. I didn't. I'm sorry. But I don't know how to fix what's already broken." There were tear stains on the page. Real ones, not metaphorical. I didn't cry. I just folded the letter and placed it in the drawer beside my bed. It didn't change what happened. It didn't change the photo. Didn't change the empty chair at my wedding. But it did tell me one thing. She finally knew. She finally understood the pain of not being chosen. And sometimes, that's the only revenge you need. I thought I'd feel lighter after sending her that photo. Instead, I just felt ... still, not better, not worse. Just stuck between the past I never made peace with and the present I was trying to protect. But something about her letter, those shaky, tear-streaked lines started chipping away at the stone I had built around my heart. I didn't tell Ethan about the letter right away. I kept it hidden, tucked inside the drawer next to my bed, like a wound I wasn't ready to show. He saw me holding back, though. He always does. "You okay?" he asked one night as we lay on the couch, our legs tangled. It's a movie we weren't watching playing in the background. I nodded, resting my head on his chest. "She sent me a letter." He didn't ask what it said. He just held me tighter. "She said she's sorry," I whispered, "but that she didn't want to upset Leon by leaving Jason." Ethan sighed. "That sounds like an apology wrapped in an excuse." "That's what I thought too. But for her, I think it's the closest thing to accountability I've ever gotten." We didn't say anything for a while, closed my eyes and let the sound of his heartbeat fill the silence. A part of me wanted to forgive her right then, to write back, to meet for coffee, to try and start over. But the other part, the hurt, little girl inside me wasn't ready to let go so easily. The next morning, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Birthdays, school dances, my graduation, my college move-in day. And guess what? My mom wasn't in most of them. I started to realize this wedding wasn't some isolated betrayal. It was just the final scene in a play that had been running for years. She didn't show up for the big stuff, not unless it benefited her. I remembered how when I was 16, I got sick and needed to be taken to the ER. She didn't answer her phone. Leon's car had broken down and he needed her to handle it. When I got my first job out of college, she didn't even ask how the first day went. She was too busy planning Jason's 7th birthday party. I wasn't her daughter. I was her. Leftover responsibility, and suddenly, the pain I'd buried came rushing back in full force. A few days later, I got another letter. This one was shorter. "Can we talk? I miss you. Not Leon, not Jason, just you. Want to fix this. Tell me how." My fingers hovered over my phone. I typed out a dozen responses, deleted them all. How do you tell someone how to fix years of emotional absence? How do you explain that forgiveness isn't a switch you flip? That you don't get to show up for the ending when you skipped every chapter in between? Eventually, I replied, "You can't fix this in one conversation, but we can start with one. I'll meet you. 1 hour, Caf Verlin, Saturday, noon." She replied instantly, "I'll be there." Saturday came like a slow storm. I got dressed carefully, not because I wanted to impress her, but because I needed armor, emotional armor. A nice coat, polished boots, a quiet strength in my eyes. Calf. Verlin was almost empty when I arrived. I sat by the window. It was raining, and then she walked in. Her hair was shorter than I remembered. She looked tired, older, but when her eyes landed on mine, I saw it. The guilt, the hesitation, the sadness. She sat down slowly, like approaching a sacred altar she had once desecrated. "I'm glad you came," she said. I nodded but said nothing. She folded her hands. "I want to start by saying I know I hurt you." I raised an eyebrow. "You think?" She flinched. "I deserve that. I'm not here to punish you, Mom. I'm here because I need answers." She swallowed hard. "Kay? Why wasn't I ever enough? Why did you always pick them?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Because I was scared. After your dad left, I didn't know how to be alone. Leon made me feel like I wasn't broken. And Jason, it was the family I thought I could control. You were growing up, pulling away, and I didn't know how to love you without holding on too tight or letting go completely." "That's not love," I said quietly. "That's fear." I needed a mother, not a woman running from her loneliness. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed softly. I know. And I hate myself for it." I looked at her. This woman who gave birth to me, who taught me how to tie my shoes, who also left me alone in a wedding dress, and for the first time. I didn't feel angry. I just felt sad, Mom, I said softly. I'm not asking you to erase the past. I'm asking you to show up now. If you mean what you said, if you miss me, then stop choosing convenience over connection. Stop making me beg for your presence. She reached across the table and touched my hand. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I didn't know if I believed her, but I stayed. We ordered coffee. We talked. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't a healing hug in the rain. It was just ... I start. And sometimes that's the most powerful revenge of all. Healing in front of the person who once made you bleed. If there's one thing about my family, it's that they move on quickly. After my wedding, after the silence, after the coffee meeting with Mom that ended in "we'll talk more soon," she didn't follow up. Not for a week. Then 2. Then 5. The silence was like a stain that just kept spreading, till I couldn't ignore it anymore. But I did what I always did when my mother disappointed. I buried it until the invitation came. It wasn't even from her. It was from Leon's daughter. Someone I had met twice. It was a digital invite to Jason's 10th birthday/baby shower. Apparently they were combining the two to make it easier for Mom. Jason's mom, the woman Leon had left, was having a baby. And now, according to the invitation, everyone was invited to this celebration of new family beginnings. Everyone but me. My name was nowhere on the guest list. But Ethan's coworker, whose cousin was married to Leon's niece, got it. How I found out. A stranger in a cubicle in another building asked Ethan casually, "So your wife's family is doing a double event this weekend, huh?" When he told me, I just stood there blinking at the wall like it might answer for her. She didn't even tell me. I whispered. "She didn't invite you," Ethan corrected. "Not the same thing. But she knows I'd hear about it. She knows I'd see it." Ethan looked like he was holding back fury. "You want to confront her?" I shook my head. "No, not this time. This time I'll let her see what she missed." On the day of the party, I got dressed up. Not because I was attending. I wasn't that crazy, but because I had other plans. I put on my favorite emerald dress. The one Mom said looked too expensive for someone like you when I bought it. I did my hair the way she never liked. And I stood by the mirror, took a deep breath, and recorded a short video. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was just me smiling softly, standing next to a frame that held my wedding photo. "Hi, Mom," I said into the lens. "I see you've moved on again. That's okay. I have too. But I want you to know I'm not bitter anymore. I'm just done begging for a seat at a table that was never mine. Happy birthday to Jason and congratulations ... again. I didn't post it online. Sent it directly to her phone. Then blocked her, let her sit with that. I wish could tell you that was the last time she hurt me. But healing from a parent's neglect is never clean. 2 weeks after that, she showed up at my door unannounced with a gift bag. And tears. In her eyes. "I didn't think you'd want to come," she whispered. "After everything." "You didn't ask if I wanted to," I replied, not moving to let her in. "I thought I was giving you space," she said. "You've been giving me space since I was 12. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked small standing on my porch. Like a broken version of the woman who once braided my hair while singing old Whitney Houston songs. I came to say, "I'm sorry again. I'm tired, Mom. Again." She took a breath and handed me the bag. "This is just ... something I should have given you months ago." I opened it. Inside was a photo album, not of her and Leon, not Jason's art. Me. Baby photos, my first ballet recital, my science fair project. Notes in her handwriting under each one. I almost dropped the book. My hands shook. "You kept these." "I always did. Even when I was a terrible mom, I loved you." "That's not the issue," I whispered. "You loving me? Kate, it's that you didn't choose me." Tears slid down her cheeks. "Then let me choose you now." For a moment, I didn't say anything. The hurt was so old, so layered. I didn't know how to remove it all, but I didn't close the door either, and maybe that was the beginning of something. Subscribe for more emotional real-life stories that hit where it hurts and heal where it matters. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can hurt you for so long and then show up with a trembling apology and your heart still aches to let them in. That photo album shattered something in me. And maybe, somehow, it healed something too. I spent nights flipping through those pages like they were foreign artifacts. My mother had documented so many pieces of my life, proof that she had once seen me, loved me, cherished me. But the question still echoed. Why stop? Ethan found me one night sitting on the living room floor, the album open on my lap. "You okay?" he asked gently. I nodded slowly. "I'm just realizing that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it disappears quietly." He knelt beside me. "Are you going to forgive her?" "I already did," I whispered. "I just don't know if I can trust her again." "Then let her earn that part." Weeks passed. For the first time in years, my mother tried. Small things. A text asking how my day went. Dropping off soup when Ethan had a cold. Sending flowers on my birthday early. For once, it wasn't perfect. Didn't erase the memory of her choosing Leon and Jason over me, but it was effort. And after years of begging for crumbs, even effort felt like a feast. One Sunday, she invited me over. Not to Leon's place, to her old apartment. The one she used to rent when it was just us. "I want to cook for you," she said over the phone. "Just you. Just us." I stared at the call screen for a second longer than I should have. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll come." When I walked in, it felt like time travel. The furniture was newer, the walls freshly painted. But something in the air was familiar. The smell of cinnamon candles. The faint hum of Motown playing low in the background. She was wearing her old apron. The one with the quote, "Strong women raise stronger daughters." "You kept that?" I asked, trying not to smile. "I never stopped being proud of you." She said. The night was calm, gentle. She made my favorite baked mac and cheese with the crunchy topping. Grilled chicken with rosemary and peach cobbler from scratch. We talked like women. Not like mother and child fighting ghosts. She asked me about work, Ethan, whether I was thinking about kids someday. I saw her eyes flicker with something unreadable. When I said, maybe, I wasn't ready when I had you, she said softly. But I never regretted you. I looked at her, wondering how many versions of her I had met over the years. The dreamer, the lover, the mother, the absentee. Now, maybe the one trying to come home? After dessert, she brought out a small box. "I know you didn't get one that day," she said, "so I wanted you to have it now." Inside was a hand-stitched bridal handkerchief, embroidered with my initials and tiny blue forget-me-nots. Delicate, beautiful, I held it like it was made of glass. "Did you make this?" "I started it when you were 15, she said. "Always. Planned to give it to you on your wedding day. Stop. Something in me broke open." I reached across the table and took her hand. "You didn't just miss a day, Mom. You missed years." "I know," she whispered. "But I'm here now, and I'm willing to rebuild, if you are." It wasn't a movie ending. There was no epic apology montage, no perfect reconciliation speech, but it was real. And it was enough. For the first time, I left her house feeling like someone's daughter again. Subscribe now for more stories that remind us. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but sometimes it clears the path forward. The venue was beautiful. Ivory roses lined the aisle. Sunlight poured in from the tall windows. My gown shimmered like it had soaked up every moment of pain and turned it into gold. But the most breathtaking part wasn't the dress or the decor. It was Ethan, standing at the altar, eyes fixed on me like I was a miracle he couldn't believe was his. He took my hand. "You're radiant," he whispered. I smiled, holding back tears. "I wish my mom could have seen this." He squeezed my hand gently. I knew we were thinking the same thing. She could have but chose not to. Still, I hadn't told him about the box she gave me, or the dinner, or the slow, clumsy way she was trying to be my mother again. I wasn't ready to say it out loud yet, was afraid it might all vanish if I did. The reception was pure magic. My college roommate gave a hilarious speech about how I once tried to make grilled cheese with an iron. My aunt cried through her toast, blessing our future. And Ethan's dad gave a classic dad joke loaded speech that had the whole room groaning and laughing. And then was my turn. I hadn't planned on speaking, but something inside me, maybe it was the years of silence, said it was time. I stood, glass in hand, heart in my throat. Most brides use this moment to thank everyone for being here, and I do with all my heart. I paused, scanning the room. But I also want to take a moment for someone who isn't. A hush fell over the tables. My mom isn't here today. My voice trembled. She had other plans. She made a choice. And for a long time, I believed that choice meant I wasn't worth showing up for. A few people shifted uncomfortably, but I went on. But I've learned that pain doesn't always come from hate. Sometimes it comes from someone else's brokenness, from the parts of them that never healed. Ethan stood beside me now, his hand resting gently on my lower back, grounding me. I've spent a long time trying to understand why some people can love you deeply one day and then disappear the next. And the truth is, I may never fully understand it. But I'm letting go of needing to. I raised my glass. To every person who showed up, not just tonight, but in my life. You didn't just witness a wedding today. You witnessed a rebirth. Of love. Of boundaries. Of a girl who finally learned that being left behind doesn't mean she was unworthy. There were tears, mine and others. I clinked my glass softly, to healing. Later that night, alone in our honeymoon suite, I opened my phone and found the photos from earlier, me in my dress, Ethan holding my hand, my dad walking me down the aisle, joy framed in every pixel. And I did what I never thought I'd do. I sent them to her, no caption, no passive-aggressive comment. Just photos. She saw them immediately, typing, 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 typing. Then the message came. You look breathtaking. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I'll regret it forever. That was it. And somehow it was enough. A week later, while unpacking wedding gifts, I found one wrapped in soft white paper with no card. Inside was a delicate pearl bracelet, the one I'd once admired in a boutique window years ago. I had been 17. She had promised, someday, on your wedding. And somehow, she remembered. There was no note. Just a tiny piece of fabric, tucked beneath the velvet box from the same bridal handkerchief she'd given me at dinner. I held it to my chest. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about choosing peace over punishment. And I was finally choosing peace. Subscribe for more real, emotional stories, because healing isn't always loud, but it's always powerful. It had been 3 months since the wedding, and life was finally quiet. No chaos, no disappointment. No unexpected apologies followed by deeper letdowns. Just the soft, everyday rhythm of being married to someone who made me feel seen. Ethan and I had moved into a small house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just warm. A fireplace we both loved, a tiny garden I pretended I knew how to care for, and a bedroom window that flooded our mornings with golden light. But some nights I still dreamed of her. Not the version of her I had now. Older, uncertain, texting, awkward apologies. I dreamed of thee before her, the mom who baked cookies in the middle of the night just because I was sad. The one who used to braid my hair while humming Stevie Wonder. The one who made my birthdays feel like magic, even when we barely had money for cake. That woman had loved me. I know she had. I just didn't know when she'd stopped. It was a rainy Tuesday when I got her message. No hi, no fluff. Just, can I take you out to lunch this Saturday? No expectations. I stared at the screen for a long time, then typed, okay. We met at a quiet bistro. The kind with old music, glass windows fogged from the rain, and lemon in every glass of water. She was already there when I arrived, nervously fiddling with a napkin. Her hair had more gray than I remembered. Her eyes looked older but softer. like time had finally melted the armor she used to wear. I sat down, we didn't hug, she smiled, hesitant. "You look happy." "I am." She nodded. "That's all I ever wanted, you know?" I sipped my water. "I don't think that's true." She flinched, just a little. "Fair?" The waiter came and went. We ordered. Small talk dripped between us like a leaking tap dot, and then she exhaled deeply, like she'd been holding her breath for years. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she whispered. "Which time?" I asked. "When you missed my high school graduation. Or when you skipped my wedding to babysit a child who wasn't even yours." Her lips trembled. "I was trying to keep someone from leaving me," she said. "Again, like your father did. Like everyone does." My throat tightened. "You didn't lose me because someone took me away," I said quietly. "You pushed me away yourself?" She blinked fast. "I know." The food arrived. We barely touched it. "I still don't know how to be what you need," she finally said, "but I want to try. I want to be part of your life again." I looked at her, not with anger anymore, but with the kind of sorrow that comes after. The storm. "I built a life where your absence doesn't define me anymore," I said. "But there's room now, not for the mom I used to beg for. For you as you are, if you're willing to come in quietly and stay." Her voice cracked. "I am." We didn't hug when we left either. But as I stepped out into the rain, I looked back. She was still sitting at the table, wiping her eyes with a napkin, but she didn't look broken. She looked rebuilding, and maybe that was enough for now. Later that night, I sat beside Ethan, my head on his shoulder, the TV playing something we weren't really watching. "You okay?" Kay asked. I nodded. It didn't fix anything. But it didn't break anything either. He kissed my forehead. "Sometimes healing is just showing up and sitting in the same room." And he was right. Subscribe. If you've ever had to rebuild yourself after being abandoned, because your story matters. And somewhere, someone needs to know. They're not alone. It was late one night when I found the wedding envelope again, the one I had never mailed. Tucked inside were the photos I had carefully chosen. Me walking down the aisle, arm in arm, with Ethan's mother, because mine wasn't there our first dance. A little clumsy, full of laughter, my bridesmaids wiping tears as Ethan gave his vow. And finally, the last photo. Ethan kissing my forehead while I held the mic and gave a short speech. A speech I had written for my mother. A speech I never got to read to her. I held the envelope in my lap like it was on fire. "You should still send it," Ethan had said once. "Not because she deserves it, but because you deserve closure." But I wasn't ready then. I was angry, aching, full of the kind of grief that eats at your bones. But now, after the lunch, after her tears and her trembling hands, now it felt different. Not revenge, just truth. So I took a deep breath and opened the card. On a fresh piece of paper, I began to write, not out of hate, but honesty, Mom. These photos aren't for guilt. They're for understanding. This is what you missed. Not a party, not a dinner, not a cake, but a daughter standing in the one moment she always imagined sharing with her mother, and instead, it's feeling completely alone. You were supposed to be there, not as a guest, as my anchor. I waited for your car outside the venue until the last possible second. I stared at the road thinking, maybe she's late. Maybe she'd come running in like the movies. Oh, maybe I matter enough, but the car never came. You chose someone else's emergency over my once-in-a-lifetime moment. You didn't just miss a wedding. You left a wound. My pen paused. I inhaled, exhaled, then continued. But I'm not writing this to punish you. I'm writing this so you understand the silence, the space, the distance. It wasn't bitterness that built the wall. It was protection. Because loving you started to feel like bleeding for someone who never even noticed the wound. But now you're showing up in small, trembling steps. You're trying. And for the first time in years, I believe you're doing it for the right reasons. So here are the photos. Not to say, look what you missed, but to say, this happened without you. And I survived. You don't get to rewrite what happened. But maybe, just maybe, we can start from here. Quietly, gently, honestly. Your daughter, I sealed the envelope. The next morning, I dropped it in the mailbox. No hesitation. No second dash guessing. It was done. Days passed. No message. Number. Reaction. Part of me thought she'd pretend it never arrived. Or worse, call and cry just to shift the guilt back on me. But one evening, a small package showed up at our door. No note. Just a frame. Inside it was a photo I hadn't included, one only she could have printed. A candid Ethan had taken of me. Months before the wedding, when I was trying on dresses alone in a dusty boutique, I was laughing, eyes closed, twirling. In front of a mirror, she had written one thing on the back. I missed everything. But I see you now. I sat on the floor, holding the frame like it was glass and memory all at once. I cried. Not angry tears, not disappointed ones. Tears of release. Sometimes the apology never comes in words. Sometimes it comes in seeing. That night, I put the frame on our bookshelf between Ethan's college photo and a candle we lit every Sunday for peace. And as I lay in bed, curled against the man who had shown up without fail, I realized something. The girl who once begged her mother to love her. She didn't live here anymore. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button, because you deserve stories that speak to your scars and your strength. And always remember, healing starts with truth. It's strange what silence can teach. After all the chaos, the pain, the unanswered messages, the wedding without a mother, what I remember most now is the quiet, not the silence she left behind, but the silence. I chose for myself to rebuild. In the weeks after I sent the letter and received her framed photo, we didn't speak, no calls, no texts, not even a like on my social posts. But there was no hate, no tension, just a gentle, respectful space. And for once, I wasn't drowning in it. Because Ethan and I, we had built a home of laughter and safety, a place where love didn't have conditions, where I'm proud of you wasn't withheld like a reward, but given like air. But that didn't mean I stopped missing what could have been. I'd still walk past bridal shops and think, I wonder if she imagined shopping with me too. Or hear a woman call, Mom, in a cafe and feel my chest tighten with something close to grief. Because mourning a living mother, that's its own kind of heartbreak. Then one morning, as I was pouring my coffee, I heard the doorbell. Ethan had just left for work. Street was quiet. I opened the door and froze. It was her. My mother, no mascara, no big sunglasses, just her. Small, unsure dot in her hands. A small clear box. Inside, my wedding invitation. The one she never responded to. It looked like it had been kept in a drawer, protected, untouched. I couldn't throw it away, she whispered. Even when I told myself I'd made the right choice. I didn't say anything. She looked at me, eyes full. But it wasn't the right choice. Not for you. Not for me. Still, I stayed quiet. Because sometimes people need to hear themselves say it out loud before healing can begin. I didn't come for forgiveness, she said. I know I broke something, and I don't expect to be part of your life again like nothing happened. She looked down, then back up. I want to earn my way back, if you'll let me. Slowly, quietly, as someone who shows up even if it's late. I nodded, not because everything was fixed, not because I didn't still feel the sting, but because I had waited for this. Not a grand apology, just a moment of truth. And it had come. We started small, a coffee at a corner bakery. Once a week, never the past, only the present. She'd ask about Ethan's work, my writing, the weird plants I'd tried to grow. Sometimes she'd bring old photos of me as a toddler, of her braiding my hair, of birthdays she had been there for. She didn't say much about them. She didn't have to. We were learning each other again, like strangers holding a map of shared memory. At our 6-month mark, she invited us to dinner. Ethan made his famous garlic bread. She surprised us with a framed print of our wedding, all three of us standing in the garden. The night she finally came by to see the venue after everyone had left. "I know I missed the real thing," she said softly, "but maybe I can be part of what comes after." That night, as Ethan and I sat on the balcony, he looked at me and smiled. "You did it," he said. I leaned into him. "Did what?" "You gave yourself a new beginning without needing anyone's permission." He was right, because the story didn't end with her absence. It began with my choice to still live fully, love freely, and let go. Without forgetting the seat she left empty at my wedding. It's still in my memory, but now it's next to the one she takes at small dinners, quiet mornings, and unexpected new beginnings. And maybe that's all we ever need. Not perfect families, not perfect endings, just a chance to start again. With open eyes and open hearts. If this story touched you, please tap that subscribe button. We bring you real stories full of healing, heartbreak, and human strength, because sometimes truth is more powerful than fiction. And if you've ever felt unseen by the people who should have loved you the most, just remember, their absence doesn't define you. Your choice to grow does.